Sumant Kathpalia, Managing Director and CEO of IndusInd Bank. Mr. Kathpalia, it's been a while we haven't had you on our show, so good to have you back. Hope all is well and things are fine at your end.
Yeah, thank you. Things are very fine. I think we're moving in the right direction. What we had set to the market, I think all our metrics are looking in the right direction.
They are appearing, Mr. Kathpalia, but if one looks at the not the absolute comparison, but the relative comparison, that is what markets would like to do. They would do a relative comparison. On relative comparison, you are still weaker than the industry. Why is that?
So there are a few reasons for that. I think our disbursement growth for the quarter was 3%, and if you look at the disbursement growth without non-vehicle or non-microfinance, I think we would at 4.5%. So I think we've always said that we will grow at 5% quarter on quarter. I think it's microfinance business which we had slowed down, and that was on purpose. And I think we are back on that delivery. If you look at our credit cost, and people think that our gross flows were elevated, if you look at microfinance again, it was only 30 basis points. It was microfinance where we took everything into the P&L and not use the contingent provisions. And we said that we will take it to the profit and loss. And we had a credit cost of about 4.4% on that business this quarter. And that's why it was. Otherwise, on deposits, we are as good as the industry. And I think very comfortable with the way the growth is coming back. And I believe that the quarter four as well as the next year should see a very different trend.
Okay, I completely agree that the microfinance business is a drag, but it is a drag, and a drag which needs to come back. When you say things will pick up in 1 or 2 quarters, are you hinting at absolute growth coming back? Are you hinting at IndusInd Bank now more openly and aggressively lending in the microfinance space?
I think we've always said that microfinance business will be 15% of our portfolio, not more than that. We're already at 12.5. I think if you want to grow 20-22% from next year onwards, I think microfinance can grow at about 20 to 25% to meet that growth, and it will always be a 15% of our portfolio. What we have done is diversified the rural vertical into various other businesses, and which is a merchant acquiring business where we are growing very rapidly. We've already created a book of 1,500 crores, and this is deep rural which we are creating the book, and we believe that book will be 5,000 crore by the end of next year, which we believe will be another kicker. So I think we've got other variants which are coming back to speed the growth. So that's why we are saying that we are very comfortable with the growth on microfinance and also other verticals which I think are coming back. So the growth will be diversified rather than focused on one segment.
Last time when we interacted with you, you spoke a lot about IndusInd Bank coming out with a completely new platform where you will be showcasing your businesses, something which is going to be a pioneering experience in the industry and for your customer. What is the update on that?
So I think we set 5 verticals where we will focus and come out with a new platform and new experience. So the Easy Credit, which is for personal loans and credit card, is already launched. We did the pilot. I think you will see it in the market from January onwards. It's in the market from January onwards, and we are seeing a rapid increase in those disbursements as well as the experience the clients are getting on that. I think we've launched the Indus Wheels, specifically focused on our vehicle finance, which is the used car finance and the scooter loans. So I think you will see a very different used car experience, which will be in the market from February end or March onwards. The third is the merchant acquiring business. We've not done any advertisement or commercial, just 1 or 2 ads. But I think we are seeing a very good response on the merchant acquiring business. What you will see further launches is the millennial proposition, a huge, very interactive and a very personalized app user experience which we are creating for the millennial generation. and I think you will see a very good strategy on the SME coming out in the next 2 quarters.
So, Mr. Kathpalia, let me break my next question for the benefit of our viewers. Your PPP is in the range of about 3,200 to 3,500 crore. But PAT is between 1,000 to about 1,200 crore.
Yeah.
And that is largely because of provisions. When do you see that improving? Because I understand that you're growing, but it's provisionings which are bringing the PAT picture down. And your shareholders and markets would only judge you with the lens of PAT. I mean, you may grow, but if provisionings are not coming down the way we think for which is it is, then the whole experience of strong earnings growth just gets delayed.
So, Nukunj, you are absolutely right. And if you look at the way we've grown and where we have done our provisioning, I've created a contingent provisioning in the book of 3,328 crores. That is to protect myself against any future shocks which may come in. We don't need on a restructured book more than 1,400 crores of provision. So I think that's an excess provision which we have created. This quarter also, we took all the hits of the microfinance to the profit and loss and not to the contingent provisioning. Having said that, if you look at prior year, we were at 370 basis points. This year, we land at about 230 basis points, including Vodafone. And next year, we believe that our credit cost should be around 120 to 150 basis points. That's where the bank will settle down. And I think we are right on a track to meet that objectives. Second point which I want to raise is, I think we've seen the peak of our provision cycle. I think already the non-microfinance businesses are at 30 basis point. It will move to about 25 to 35 basis point. It will be in that range. I think the microfinance business should see a dramatic turnaround this quarter. And I think going forward, you will see the microfinance business working in between 150 to 200 basis points.
The whistleblower report on the MFSI segment did create a lot of challenge for your shareholders, and the stock came down. Along with your results, you have communicated that you've done an internal audit and everything is looking okay, but the external audit is awaited. Should we expect the report of the external audit before the month of Feb ends?
Yes, Nukunj, I think the report should be out. I think what we said in the report, what we said in my commentary was that the internal review was completed and a status update was given on the findings of to the committee of board members by the external consulting company. I think if you look at it, whatever we've said is holds true as of now, and whatever financial facts which we had to take, provisions which we have to take, is already impacted in the Q3 results.
But why was this issue raised in the first place, sir?
I can't answer that question. It's an anonymous complaint, but let us also say that I think the issues were regarding an 84,000 customers where whistleblowing was created on whether there was a system issue or whether there was a intent issue. And I think what has come out, this was a system issue, and all the findings of internal as well as the external consulting firm express that.
Let me draw a parallel. If I look at some of your peer banks are now aggressively adding to inorganic growth by acquiring a mutual fund business, by bidding for a credit card business of Citibank. We understand that some of your peers are very aggressive there. Are you tempted now to diversify? For the longest time, IndusInd Bank has maintained that, look, we want to be a pure play bank, very strong on fee-based income. We want to identify niche sectors where we can be a strong number one, and you've done that. Let's say your vehicle finance business or your diamond financing business. But is it time for you to now start really thinking on, let's say, acquiring a piece of insurance, acquiring a piece of credit card? Have you reached that level now?
So we reached that level, 3 years back. I think the issue is we've always communicated to the market that we are interested in parabanking. The concern is when do we get the approvals and when do the guidelines become effective. So I think that's something which we are waiting. Having said that, I think that's not the only reason why we are not in parabanking. I think we are diversifying into other areas. I also told you that we're looking at a fourth domain. And the fourth domain can come out of affordable housing, wealth management, mortgage, or can even come out of a business like merchant acquiring. So I think we are looking at a fourth domain to create a business opportunity that can be organic or inorganic. So I think we are very clear on a fourth domain. We are also very clear that we want to be in parabanking in selected activities.
While this is something the promoters will decide, Mr. Kathpalia, but I'm just going to still chance my arm by throwing this question at you, which is that once we get clarity on how much should be the promoter limit, and when the promoter limit is allowed to be 26% by Reserve Bank of India, do we see the Hindujas automatically increasing their stake? I mean, are they very keen? Have they indicated anything?
So the promoters, have never sold their shares and have always participated in any fundraising. They are awaiting the operating guidelines on the 26%. Once the operating guidelines are clear, and if the bank needs capital, the promoters will be the first one to inject capital into the company.
Right. Let me turn your attention to something which in a sense was like a cross around your neck, which is Vodafone Idea, or Idea Vodafone, whichever way I may want to put it out. You did share with us that, look, you've provided everything for that. But now that the issue is solved, what happens on that account, and how will that, in a sense, change your accounting and change your earnings?
So first of all, we will not reverse the provisions. I've always told you I'm conservative in provisioning, and I will continue to keep the provision till I see the business case playing out, and the business plan has to play out for me to start reversing the provisions. That's number one. Number two, I think Vodafone is expected to come back to the bankers, to the consortium bank, with the business plan, which is a definitive business plan, with how they're going to raise the funds as well as how the business will grow. So we are awaiting that. Once that is finalized, I think we will see the execution of that business plan for 2 or 3 quarters before we say we start reversing the provisions.
How prepared is IndusInd Bank to participate in the new credit cycle? Your cost is low, your ratios are coming under control. Would you be aggressively open to participate in this capex cycle? Something which every bank wants, that when large corporates, they start borrowing again, when they start spending again. Are you prepared for it, or this time around your approach is going to be extra conservative?
I don't think we need to be extra conservative. There are learnings from the past which we have already incorporated in our underwriting standards. So I think if you look at the corporate book, it has not given us any pain since the 4 or 5 cases where we got the pain. After that, I think the corporate book has stood well, and it is growing very, very nicely and very granularly. And I think we've learned a lesson, and I think we are doing very well. We are also coming down from the lowest growth cycle on the vehicle finance as well as the microfinance, and I think you will see a very good growth in Q4 as well as next year on the microfinance side of the book or on the vehicle side of the book. Our MSME and the SME sectors are growing well, and we are seeing growth there. Having said that, I think we will grow ahead of the market in the 3 domains which we are. In the corporate side as well as on the MSME side, while we'll be ahead of the market, we'll not be an outlier in the market. And I think that's something which we are very clear about. I don't think we will play an outlier game, but I think we will be ahead of the market in our race on the growth side.
Now, you've just said that you're open to inorganic growth. So let's clear the air. Are you looking at acquiring the assets of IDFC mutual funds? Are you thinking on the lines of, let's say, diversifying and adding another fee-based component to your business?
Nukunj, I've already said that we are interested in para-banking. I won't like to comment on a specific deal. It will not appropriate for me to comment on that.
On the lines of coming into neo-banking and other digital transformative experiences, which let's say some of your peers have already started talking about?
So if you look at it, the 5 domains which I talked about, the new variants, it's actually adding up to a new banking experience which we are creating. I think the millennial proposition will be one such experience which the bank will take its first step in the journey towards the new banking. And I think it will create a very differentiated experience on payments, on recognition of clients. I think it's a completely different UI UX which we are creating, and it's on completely different technology platforms as a consequence. Having said that, we also do collaborate with partners, specifically, for example, buy now, pay later. I think we will offer a comprehensive, certain products will only be run through partnerships, and we don't believe that the bank will be agile enough to do those type of products. And I think, so we've understood our limitations and we've got some of our strength. So how we bring it together and how we create a user experience for the client is what we are working on.
Mr. Kathpalia, at what point in time the reversal of interest rate cycle could start hurting demand? You know, right now everybody is talking about growth, demand coming back, retail demand coming back, vehicle finance demand coming back, but there would be a time at which the affordability comes under question, and if that affordability comes under question, it will start hurting either growth or will give uptick to NPAs.
So I think you have to look at it in 2 ways. I think first of all, if you look at the RBI speeches and I think in my view, they will continue to support growth. And I think while the interest rate cycle may reverse, maybe there will be an increase of 25 basis points. I do not feel that everything will be passed on to the clients immediately, in my opinion. I think while there is always a lag on it passing on to the client. Secondly, I believe that I think while those things increases, there are other measures which also increase. For example, in commercial vehicle, the freight matrix is already increased. So I think to take care of any increased cost which may come in as a consequence of that. So I think there are various markets forces which come into play to say that these come into play. On the microfinance side, we are the lowest rate lender. We continue to believe that you should not pass on such rates to the end consumer, and they should work at a particular rate. We are at 18.8 or 19%, and we do not believe that the rate should be increased to 20%, 21%. So whichever are floating rate books will get rate change. Otherwise, and that's only 48% of our book. 52% of our book is a fixed rate book, and I believe that we are well provided there and well covered there.
So just to wrap it up with one final question, FY23, how will that be different from FY22? FY21 was all about understanding COVID. FY22 was all about making your book and cost stable. How will FY23 be different?
So there are 4 things which you should observe in us in FY23. Number 1, growth, and I think we are focused towards growth now. We have a very stable balance sheet, and I think we should focus on growth. Second, like you rightly said, our PPOP margins are the highest in the industry, or second highest in the. We are at 5.9 to 6% of our loan book, and we've always given a guidance of 5, but we're 5.9 to 6%, and we believe that we'll continue to maintain between 5.75 and 6%. Number 3, our credit cost should see a swing back, and I think we should land up between 120 to 150 basis points as we move forward. The fourth domain should come into existence, which you are already talking, whether it comes in the form of parabanking, whether it comes in form of affordable housing or wealth management. We will announce it to the market in the next 2 to 3 quarters.
Well, Mr. Kathpalia, hope to certainly see much more of you going forward, and good luck for this quarter and for a wonderful
Yes.
FY23.
Thank you, Nathan. Pleasure talking to you.